Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone.
You know, there comes a time in every woman's life when peace becomes more important than approval, when silence says more than explanations ever could. And today, I want to talk about that moment, the one where a wise woman doesn't argue. She doesn't fight to be understood. She just walks away quietly from the people who no longer deserve front row seats in her life, because wisdom isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's dignified, and it's rooted in self-respect. You know this person, the one who only loves you when you're useful, when you're giving, when you're pouring yourself out like a river that never runs dry. They appear right when they need something. Your time, your help, your advice. And in those moments, they make you feel important, needed, wanted. But the second the well runs empty, though, calls, no texts. No, are you? Just silence. And at first, you tell yourself stories because that's what we do when we care. You say, maybe they're busy. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I should try harder. We bend over backward to justify behavior that keeps breaking our hearts. But here's what wise women eventually learn: when love depends on what you give, it's not love, it's convenience. And when someone only sees your value in what you do for them, they're not seeing you at all. There's a certain heartbreak that comes with that realization, because you remember all the times you showed up with warmth, with presence, with your whole heart. You remember staying up late on the phone when they were struggling. You remember the favors, the advice, the emotional labor you offered so freely. And then the first time you needed someone to show up for you, it was quiet. Too quiet. That silence teaches you something sacred. It teaches you the difference between being appreciated and being used. It teaches you that love without reciprocity is just depletion disguised as devotion. So the wise woman, she doesn't make an announcement. She doesn't post about it. She doesn't even confront it. No, she simply stops explaining her worth to people who only notice her when she's doing something for them. She stops overextending herself to keep connections alive that would have died long ago if she stopped watering them. That's not bitterness. That's awakening. Because once you realize that your kindness has been mistaken for obligation, you begin to move differently. You start giving with intention, not desperation. You stop chasing those who only show up when they're thirsty, and instead, you learn to protect your flow. And when she walks away, she doesn't slam the door. She just closes it softly. Because the wise woman understands sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to stop giving people discounts on access to your soul. That silence, that gentle withdrawal, it's not punishment, it's peace reclaiming its place in her life. And once she tastes that peace, she never begs for breadcrumbs again. You know that moment when you share something good, something that lights you up, and instead of joy, the room suddenly feels colder. You can almost feel the shift. Their smile doesn't quite reach their eyes. Their congratulations sound rehearsed, a little too quick, a little too forced. And in that instant, your excitement shrinks. You pull your joy back inside like a turtle into its shell. Because something in you knows they don't actually want to see you shine. We don't talk enough about the pain of realizing that someone close to you is quietly competing with you. It's subtle, right? It's not loud jealousy. It's little digs disguised as jokes. It's them trying to outdo you, one-upping your story or subtly pointing out your flaws right after you share something beautiful. And you start wondering, why does my happiness bother them? Why does my growth feel like a threat? It's confusing because these are people you love. You believed they were safe. You believed they'd clap when you win. But somewhere along the way you realize they only feel secure when you're not doing better than them. And wise women, after enough heartbreak, they begin to understand this truth: real friends don't compete. They celebrate. They don't measure your success against their own. They see it as proof that good things are possible for both of you. But that kind of maturity, it's rare. So what does a wise woman do? She doesn't start a war. She doesn't play small to make anyone comfortable. She doesn't explain why she deserves what she's earned. No, she just notices. She watches patterns. She pays attention to how she feels around them, the tightness in her chest, the subtle defensiveness, the way she has to dim her light just to keep the peace. And then, quietly, she chooses distance, because she's learned that the people who can't clap for her when she wins will never truly hold her when she falls. That's a tough pill to swallow, because she remembers the late nights, the shared dreams, the laughter that once felt real. But growth reveals what comfort hides. And when your light grows brighter, not everyone will stand the heat. So she steps back, not out of pride, but out of protection. She stops oversharing her blessings with those who secretly resent them. She celebrates privately. She prays quietly. She shines freely. And you know what's powerful? She doesn't feel guilty about it anymore. She understands that shrinking herself doesn't make others bigger. It just makes her smaller. And she's done living small. So she keeps shining, even if it blinds a few eyes. Because she's learned that her light was never meant to be dimmed. It was meant to guide her toward the people who glow the same way. And when that wise woman walks away, she does it gracefully. No drama, no speeches, just peace. Because she's not looking for applause anymore. She's looking for alignment. And the truth is, she'll never apologize again for being too bright for someone who chose to stay in the dark. There's a kind of relationship that feels heavy the moment you step into it. The one that drains you before you even realize it. You leave the conversation tired, anxious, almost hollow, like someone's taken more from you than you had to give. And yet somehow, you keep showing up. You keep answering their calls. You keep listening to their drama, trying to fix their problems, thinking that your presence, your energy, your patience will make things better. These are the people who feed on chaos. They thrive on conflict, uncertainty, and the emotional labor of others. And at first, it feels noble, right? You think, I'm helping, I'm being supportive, I'm being a friend. But over time, you notice the pattern. No matter how much you give, it's never enough. The storm doesn't pass. It only grows louder. And here's the truth. Wise women recognize that not every broken person is theirs to fix. That doesn't make them heartless. It makes them human. You realize that empathy isn't a license to be exhausted. That compassion doesn't require self-sacrifice at the cost of your own emotional well-being. That sometimes love means letting go of someone who will never love you in a way that honors your boundaries. So instead of arguing, instead of trying to reason with someone who thrives on your depletion, a wise woman withdraws. Not with anger, not with resentment, not with dramatics. She simply steps away. And in that silence, she finds something she's been craving without even knowing it's space. Space to breathe, space to feel, space to nurture her own spirit without it being tugged, pulled, or battered. She begins to understand that healing herself doesn't require fixing someone else. That protecting her energy doesn't make her selfish. It makes her wise. And as she moves through life, she starts noticing the difference. She no longer feels drained after a conversation. She no longer worries about how much she's giving or whether it's enough. She begins to surround herself with people who uplift her, who bring light into her life, who understand that friendship is reciprocal, not one-sided. This isn't about punishment. It's about preservation. It's about honoring the fact that her energy, her time, and her heart are precious. And once she starts treating them that way, the people who drain her simply fall away. Silently, without confrontation. And when that happens, she realizes something beautiful. She has more space to live, more space to love, more space to be. That's the power of stepping back quietly. Not everyone deserves front row seats to your life. And wise women know that some people are meant to watch from the distance while you rise whole and free. There's a particular kind of wound that cuts deeper than words, and it comes from people who dismiss your feelings. You know the ones I mean. The ones who, when you share your heart, your pain, your vulnerability, they roll their eyes or sigh or tell you, you're too sensitive or you're overreacting. And suddenly, the hurt you were trying to share feels smaller, like it doesn't belong, like it's wrong to feel at all. At first, you question yourself. You think, maybe I am overreacting. Maybe I shouldn't feel this way. And so you shrink. You tuck your emotions away, trying not to burden them with the truth of your experience. You start to second-guess your reality, wondering if your feelings are valid, if your pain is real, if your voice deserves to be heard. But here's what wise women learn. And it's a lesson that takes time, heartbreak, and a lot of reflection to understand fully. Your feelings are your truth. They are not wrong. They are not a problem to be fixed or dismissed. They are part of your humanity, your depth, your capacity to love, hurt, and heal. So, when someone repeatedly dismisses or minimizes her emotions, the wise woman stops trying to explain herself. She stops bending over backward to make her feelings acceptable to someone incapable of holding them. She stops expecting validation from people who can't honor her heart. And in that silence, that quiet withdrawal, she discovers something profound, a kind of self-respect that no words can give her. She learns that she doesn't need everyone to understand her, to agree with her, or to approve of her emotions. She only needs to honor them herself. It's not easy. There's a grief in letting people go who have invalidated you, especially if they've been part of your life for a long time. But wise women understand that protecting her emotional space is not cruelty. It's survival. It's the practice of telling herself, my feelings matter. My heart matters. My boundaries matter. And over time, the people who dismiss her feelings naturally fall away, silently, because she has stopped explaining herself. She has stopped negotiating for validation she will never receive. And in that silence, she finds her voice again. Not a loud voice, but a steady, unwavering one. The kind that doesn't need permission to exist. That's the power of wisdom, of quietly walking away from the people who refuse to honor your heart. It's not drama. It's not vengeance. It's dignity. And in that dignity, she finally begins to feel safe with her own emotions again. She finally begins to trust herself. And once she trusts herself, she no longer seeks permission from anyone else to feel, to love, or to live fully. There's a kind of betrayal that leaves marks you can't see, but feel every time you try to trust again. It comes from people who repeatedly break promises, who gossip when you confided in them, who make choices that show over and over that your trust doesn't matter. At first, you really hope, that it was a mistake, that it won't happen again, that this time things will be different. But betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, subtle, like a shadow creeping over your heart. And the worst part is, it often comes from people you let in, people you believed were safe, people you opened your soul to, only to realize they were never capable of holding it gently. Wise women eventually learn a truth that's both painful and liberating. Forgiveness is a gift you can give, but reconciliation is not a requirement. You can release anger. You can let go of bitterness. You can even pray for the person who hurt you. But that doesn't mean you have to invite them back into your life. Because trust is not rebuilt through apologies alone. Trust is rebuilt through consistent, proven change. The kind of change that aligns actions with words every single time. And when someone repeatedly shows that they cannot be trusted, a wise woman sees the pattern. She listens not to their promises, but to their actions. So she steps back, not with a confrontation, not with an explanation, not with dramatics. She withdraws quietly, protecting the sacred space of her heart. And in that quiet, she begins to heal, slowly, gently, without interference, without arguing about who's right or wrong. She simply reclaims her own safety, her own peace, her own life. And here's the remarkable thing in letting go: she doesn't shrink. She grows. She grows stronger, wiser, more attuned to the people who truly deserve to walk beside her. She realizes that some people are not meant to be part of her journey, no matter how much love she once offered them. And that is the quiet strength of a wise woman. She doesn't make noise when she removes someone from her life. She doesn't need to explain herself or justify her boundaries. She simply steps away, silently, gracefully, knowing that her heart deserves loyalty, respect, and care. Because betrayal repeated is not a test of your patience, it's a sign. And the wise woman listens to that sign. She honors it. And in doing so, she frees herself to love, to trust, and to live fully, surrounded only by people who are capable of holding her heart with the gentleness it deserves. So, yes, wise women cut people off, but not with anger, not with vengeance. They do it with peace, with softness, with a heart that says, I wish you well, but I choose me. Because maturity isn't about who you keep around. It's about who you stop explaining yourself to. And if that means walking away silently, then let your silence be sacred. Let it be the sound of boundaries wrapped in grace. Because the truth is, wise women don't shout when they're done. They whisper to their souls, "We're safe now?" And that whisper is the loudest kind of freedom there is.